Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob with Instinct Bass, and thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to do a 1-year review of this Ionic Lithium battery. This is a 36-volt, 50-amp-hour battery that I'm using to run my trolling motor. So let's go ahead and get started with this review. I think you get some good useful info out of it. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and get started. I went ahead and changed the camera view just to make it a little bit more visible, but I've still got the battery down here. As you can tell, it's very light. This is a 36 volt, 50 amp hour battery, and it weighs around 45 pounds or so. So I'm going to start out with some good, bad, and unfortunately ugly situations with this battery that I've been going through. So let's go ahead and get started with that, starting with the good. So the good is I originally bought this battery, like I said, to power my Garmin Force trolling motor, which is a 36 volt trolling motor. I upgraded from a 24 volt Fortrex before that. And the good news is that this battery powers that trolling motor very well. I haven't run into any problems with power or with it lasting long or anything like that. I've done 2-day tournaments where I've started at 100% or close to charge, and by the end of those 2-day tournaments, I'm still at 70%. Using the trolling motor all day, not charging it overnight or anything like that. So I haven't run into any problems as far as power goes or as far as longevity goes. I was a little bit skeptical that the 50 amp hour battery would be enough for that 36 volt trolling motor, and I thought I may need 100 instead, but this 50 amp hour surprisingly worked very well. Now, with that being said, that could be the case for any 50 amp hour lithium battery that's a 36 volt, that isn't as much as this one. This one was $1,100, so I went with Ionic because they're an established brand, and I heard some good things about them. A couple of my buddies used them, and so I didn't know much about lithium batteries at the time, so I said, well, why not? Let's go with that one. Now, I did go with the 36 volt single battery as opposed to 3 12 volt batteries. And the reason I did that is, one, just because I didn't want there to be all those connections. I figured the less connections I had, the better or more reliable it may be. I also figured this would fit a little bit better in the back of the boat where my old batteries were. And that was basically it. I just didn't feel like messing with the 3 batteries. That being said, it may have been a better idea to go with the 3 batteries instead of the 1, but that's a choice really you're going to have to make. The reason being is because if one battery does go bad, like this one did, or if you run into any issues with it, you can still run this trolling motor on 24 volts and still be able to fish. Whereas I was out a few weeks trying to get some stuff done with this one. So the good thing is that, like I said, it's got a lot of power on it. It powers this trolling motor very well. I don't have any complaints with that. It comes with a great app that I'll also post some screenshots of that will show you what the state of charge is, what the amp hours are. So the power, the amp hours, and the app are all positives with the battery. It's light, anything like that. So it has the same benefits, obviously, as any other lithium battery that's going to be light and have a lot of power and last for a long time. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into some issues that I've been having with the battery, though. Okay, so as I've said, I've had this battery for about a year, maybe a little over a year now, and so I normally like to do reviews on products after I've had them for a while. That way I'm not in that initial phase where pretty much everything works. So after about a year, I did a few tournaments on the BFL, and I came in, and the boat was probably sitting for 3 weeks after one of the tournaments. Now, I typically charge this battery every couple of weeks or every week or so. I don't leave it on the charger all the time. You're not really supposed to with lithium batteries. And so I was going to go fishing the next morning one time, and on the night before I went to plug it in, came back in about an hour, and it was still at the same spot. The charger was on a yellow light, which basically means it's in standby mode. The charger I have is also an Ionic 36 volt / 12 volt charger, so it'll charge both this and my cranking battery as well. But the charger was reading that it had the same state of charge as well, or I should say the battery was reading that on the app that it had the same state of charge as well. And so it stayed at 77%. It didn't go anywhere for an hour or so, and it wasn't actually charging the battery. And so I wanted to figure out what the problem with the battery was. So naturally I went to the app, and the app said I had 2 errors on it, and they were high temp discharge and high temp charge. So I take that to what maybe means that it was running too hot is what I take that to mean. And so, frankly, after paying $1,100 for this battery and then another $350, I believe, for the charger, so I was a little upset, perturbed, whatever you may be, concerned that this battery had those problems only being a year old. Now, going back to some of the good on it, it does have a great warranty on it. It's got an 11-year warranty. Now, don't take that to mean that you can just keep it for 11 years and they'll replace it for free after, if it breaks within that time frame. It's a staggered warranty, if you will. So for the first 3 years, I believe, they'll replace it or repair it at their decision. And then after that, it goes down to where when you're at that 11-year mark, I believe they give you like a 30% discount on a new battery. And so let's go ahead and get started with the warranty process, because that's some of the stuff that I didn't have the best experience with. Okay, so I talked about what the warranty is, that it kind of staggers over 11 years. I don't really necessarily have a problem with that. That seems pretty reasonable in my mind. Where I started running into issues was I took down what the problems were with the battery. I attempted to contact Ionic to see if there was something I could do on my end without having to send it in. Maybe there was some way I could reset it. Maybe there's some way I could reset the charger. Maybe it wasn't even the battery. Maybe it was the charger instead. I just didn't know. But frankly, I was, after maybe 10 phone calls and emails, I was finally able to get a hold of somebody. And they said, yeah, it's going to be, one of the sensors, high temp sensor, I believe, that's inside the battery that we're going to need to replace. So go ahead and fill out a warranty card or warranty information on the online, so you can get that return merchandise authorization. So I said, all right, I'll go ahead and fill that out. I went in, filled it out, again, typed out all this long stuff saying, hey, if there's something I can do on my end, let me know. I don't know if it's the battery or the charger. Tell me one way or the other. What can I do? And then the only thing that I got back was fill out the warranty card, send it in. One line, no, we're sorry that you paid $1,100 for this battery and it's not working. We'll take care of it for you. Nothing like that. So I wasn't real impressed with the customer service that I was getting. Coming from a customer service background as a service manager and as a Marine lead at Bass Pro, these are things that I take, to heart and as a customer. And, I want to be treated right. And, if something goes wrong, I'd like to, at least have that sense that, okay, they're going to take care of me and they care that I have a problem. I just never really got that sense that they really cared and they just wanted to get it taken care of. So I filled out the warranty deal. They asked me for an order number. So I'm like, all right, I go back. Now I bought this from a dealer, not from Ionic themselves, but I only had one order number. And that was the one that I had from the dealer, because they didn't tell me, where to find this order number or what that meant or anything like that. So that's the order number I typed in. They write back and they said, we need the right order number and contact the dealer for it. And that was it. So I'm like, okay. So I don't know where to find that at. I did contact the dealer. So once they had that done, they went ahead and started the return process. They said, well, all right, after a couple of days goes by, and again, I had to contact them saying, all right, hey, what's the status? I filled this out. I don't know what's going on. It's been a few days. Let me know what's up. And then another day goes by. I said, okay, well, we've got your information filled out. Go ahead and pay this amount for the shipping, and we'll get you taken care of. And so I said, all right, well, that's another thing. You do have to pay for the shipping to send this back and for them to send it back to you. But those were questions that I had, and it just felt like the whole process I'm having to kind of pull teeth to get information, because I don't know whether that shipping pays for just me shipping it there, and then I have to pay again for it to come back, or if it takes care of the whole process. Do I have to find a box? Are you going to send me a box with the RMA in it? All these kind of things that I feel like should have been spelled out from the get-go. But turns out you do have to pay for the shipping once, and that covers the whole thing. I think it was $59 roughly to send this back, and then for them to send it back to me as well. The problem is that they don't send you a box to send this in, and if you look at this battery, it's a heavy, odd shape, and so trying to find a box for this to fit in was a pain. I had to go to Home Depot, get a box, get a bunch of foam, put it in there. So I spent another $30 on materials to send it back. And so if you do get one of these, I recommend keeping the box for it in case you run into issues like this, which, my bad, I should have kept the box. So those are all kind of the nit and gritty with the warranty process with Ionic. Again, not very cordial. I didn't like that I had to, I don't mind paying for the shipping because that was kind of given up front. I just didn't know what it covered and that kind of thing. So some folks are going to be irate that they have to pay for the shipping on a battery that is still under warranty. That it is what it is, as long as it works, which I honestly don't know yet. I haven't put it back in the boat. I'm going to put it back in the boat and then see what happens. So those are the issues that I have with it. I'm going to put it back in the boat and then I'll let you know whether it works or not. So the good is, again, in summary, kind of the good is that it works great when it was working. The bad is that I don't like that it had an issue within that time frame for this expensive of a battery. And then and then the ugly is that I just didn't like the customer service or lack thereof when I was actually having an issue with it and getting it back and forth and everything. It did come back packed well, nice and well. So hopefully it should work. They did have to open up the battery, and I'll put some images on the camera where they did that. So you can definitely tell where they opened up the battery and did the work. So hopefully it actually works now, and we'll see. Okay, so I got everything hooked back up, and good news is it does look like everything is working right. I'll post the picture of the app there on the screen that shows that everything's green. It is taking a charge, so who knows? Fingers crossed we'll be able to go fishing tomorrow. So that's been a review of that Ionic 36-volt battery and some comments and everything and whatnot about their warranty process. Some things that I like about it, some things that I don't. As far as recommending the battery goes, I'll go ahead and leave that decision up to you. Maybe I just got a bad battery or something like that, or maybe things just happened and after a while it ran down. I can't say that I put many hours on it. I only had 2 cycles on it for what that's worth, but it does appear to be working now. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do another video 6 months from now and go from there. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Rob with Instinct Bassin. Trust your gut, and I'll see you on the water.